Neroni, and I'm in 8th grade. Today I'm going to be presenting my TEDx speech on societal standards and their impact on us and also other people we might not expect. Societal standards are day-to-day expectations that we all deal with since they're what hold up society. However, this doesn't mean that all the standards have to positively contribute to our lives, and a great example is the beauty standard. Beauty standards can vary from place to place, but everywhere you go, it's something people pay a lot of attention to. Everywhere you go, people feel different ways about their looks. Some people are lucky enough for beauty to open doors like modeling, but most people feel insecure about themselves and feel like they can't meet the beauty standards, which has a negative and important impact on them. This is an important factor for bullying, which often worsens many mental conditions, like for example depression, which sometimes can lead to depression. However, society has found a way to try at least to prevent these suicide rates or to give a solution to insecurity. These are filters, cosmetic procedures, and plastic surgeries like we can see here. As you can tell, they make the person different from what they would really look like, but they make the person feel more secure. Most importantly, society makes money off of this process because, as most of us probably know, all of these procedures can cost up to thousands of dollars, for example, Botox, which you would also have to go in to get once again. So essentially, society also found a way to feed off of insecurities and make money off of them. Getting back to what we were saying, the beauty standard increases and gets harsher every single year, just like the suicide rates, which this year strike up to 720,000 deaths. And not only that, as we can see, the suicide percentage currently is extremely alarming to rates that it shouldn't be at. But that's not the only standard that negatively contributes to our lives. Others that we definitely know, and all of you in the audience have probably experienced, are work or school, because they generate an immense amount of pressure on who has to sustain for their families or who has to satisfy them. And not sustaining for their families would generate an immense amount of pressure and also more mental issues once again. However, beauty standards, sorry.
Okay, let's go.
Speaking of big brands, the good things about certain standards, however, are that without them, our society would basically be an entire mess. People would follow their own directions and their own rules, not the ones that we technically have already. They would probably act irresponsibly, and agreements would be so hard to make. And this would just make and lead to so many consequences that we would just want to avoid. Now let's switch gears for a second and speak about us and how we have to deal with this. Every day, we expect something to happen, whether it is for this meeting at work or this test at school, or maybe this package I ordered 7 days ago to be at my front door. But then, if it's not there, it frustrates me, and it would frustrate you too. We're frustrated because we feel the need to get what we want and what we expect to be there. And when we don't get this, it generates a feeling of madness. That's an example of an expectation that did not go well, and it makes us feel unhappy. However, so let's just say that this concept, we're gonna call it consumerism. And let's just say we plant this seed, which is consumerism, and this consumerism is watered by our excessive wants, which are usually useless rather than the needs, the things we actually require in life. And this is a good summary of what consumerism is. Overall, consumerism is simply the exaggerated demand for products that we don't necessarily require, but we buy and consume them in insane amounts. And consumerism justifies this insane consumption as helpful to economy, and so as a good thing. But it really isn't, because yes, I won't lie to you guys, it is of course helpful to economy, as we can probably tell. However, it is extremely bad, for example, because it affects pollution and also the ideals of certain big brands who are going to do anything to get a higher demand in their products, even if it means significantly lowering their prices and their qualities, both for the workers and for the customers. A great example is Shein, a fast fashion brand which we probably all know and probably have all ordered from at least once or twice, whether it is for their variety of products or for their easy ways of purchasing, but most importantly, their super low prices, which intrigue most of the customers. These super low prices make Shein perfect, and in fact, Shein has one of the highest demands, and it is one of the best businesses currently. However, you might be thinking, if millions of people always buy from Shein, where does all this money go? Well, definitely, this money isn't used correctly as it should be. But guess what? Shein isn't the only one. Shein particularly is notorious for its child labor, which is where they mistreat children and force them to work for hours. These children, many people are aware of this child labor that Shein and many other big brands all across the world do. Many people are aware, but nobody seems to care or take action because it isn't their issue, or what are they gonna do is what they think. However, these children, who are even years younger than me, have to work for hours in terrible conditions. They don't have healthcare, education, a proper diet, or anything really. Let's just say they live to work. They're living robots or machines. And they work they get the equivalent of $20 each day for shifts that can last up to 16 hours per day in terrible conditions. And they get paid based on how much they produce, which simply worsens everything. So now, think about how you could be contributing to all this, and think about how maybe society doesn't tell you all this. But getting back to the brand and the owners, the people who are actually aware to their actions. These brand owners make money off of a concept that we're going to call capitalism. And capitalism, oh you guys, I also wanted to show you guys a picture. These are certain children's, and as you can see, this is clearly a Shein factory, and as you can see, the conditions are terrible. But getting back to us. These big company owners make money off of a concept that we're going to call capitalism. And capitalism is essentially having your own business that is not run by anybody else, so not even the government, but simply a private interest or business. And these multimillionaires make money off of this concept. Social media thinks that this is a great thing, and that these multimillionaires are people to imitate because they have what is deemed to be a perfect life. Social media constantly refers to a perfect life. As an example, we're going to take the 3 factors that social media talks about the most, because again, the perfect life is really talked about. It's mostly what you see on social media. It's all over your feed, whether you like it or not. These 3 factors are being pretty, being wealthy, and privileged. But as we definitely know, these factors do not apply to everyone. And this seems to generate a big amount of inequality between people, countries, or even groups. And this is very significant. Overall, standards can be, we can only define standards as negative parts of our society, because as we said, it's really a motor to our society, but standards can be easily manipulated depending on the audience and depending on who is in charge of these standards. But usually these standards are spread out to people by what we're going to call globalization. Globalization is the evolution of the world's connections, which is currently held up by social media. As we all know, me too, right now I have a phone in my hand, and with this phone, I'm able to search up anything I want in seconds, and I'll get to know about that. This is extremely important because it allows me to see whatever I want in seconds, and millions of people have this opportunity. So it is exactly what we would define our current cultural current, globalization. However, getting back to what we were saying, standards can be manipulated, especially because they're diffused with this globalization. However, anyone can decide what they're going to put up in the media, so that can change people's ideas. And unfortunately, in this world, standards are considered something that are easily changed, where you manipulate them and twist them to, instead of helping someone, you can manipulate these standards to push them down and acting as an obstacle instead of giving them a tip along their way. And this significantly decreases their chances of being successful in life, which means, and it brings me to my conclusion, if we were all able to be more comprehensive, more open-minded of each other's inner struggles, and simply kinder, we could create better and more efficient standards that worked for us all. These standards would be act as the motor to a better society that would provide for us all and would probably send us a step further into really everything. The people who are able to do this with a little group of people are usually the people who are the most successful in life. And with that, I hope I opened someone's eyes about the true society we live in, not just the perfect one we hear about. Thank you so much.